Okay, we're on the bottom of page 142. And Miss Frankenweiler just told Jamie and Claudia that they have 1 hour to look through all of her files to see what they can find about Angel. And so we read the paragraph. I laughed and I left the room. I tiptoed into the large closet I have next to my office. So she's going to listen to them and watch them as they are looking through her files. Remember, she said they have to leave everything organized or the deal is off. Okay, so bottom of page 142. Jamie got up immediately and began opening up file drawers. Claudia shouted, "Stop!" He did. "What's the matter with you, Claude? We have only 1 hour. 5 minutes of planning are worth 15 minutes of just looking. Quick, give me the pencil and notepad from the table." Jamie ran to get them. Claudia immediately began making a list. "Here's what we'll look up. I'll take the odd numbers, you take the even." "I want odd." "For goodness sakes, Jamie, take odds then." Here's the list Claudia wrote. 1. Michelangelo. 2. Buonarroti. 3. Angel. 4. Park Bernay Galleries. 5. Metropolitan Museum of Art. 6. Italian Renaissance. 7. Auctions. 8. Sculpture. 9. Marble. 10. Florence, Italy. 11. Rome, Italy. Okay, so look at that list. 1 is pretty obvious. Michelangelo. 2, what is 2? Buonarroti. It's his last name. Then 3 is for Angel, the actual statue. 4, Park Bernay Galleries. Think back before. What does Park Bernay Galleries have to do with anything? Remember, Park Bernay is where they had the auction for the Angel statue. And then 5 is for the museum. And the rest are pretty self-explanatory. Jamie looked over the list. "I changed my mind. I'll take evens. There's 1 less." "Talk about wasting time," Claudia screamed. "Take evens then, but get to it." They began to work very rapidly. Claudia once or twice cautioned Jamie not to make a mess. They had exhausted the list, odds as well as evens. There were folders on most of the categories they looked up, but upon examining them, they found not one hint of Angel. Claudia was feeling depressed. She looked at the clock. 6 minutes to go. "Think, Jamie, think. What else can we look up?" Jamie squinted his eyes, a sign that he was thinking hard. "Look him up under... What kind of language is that? Look him up under." "Oh, baloney, Claude. Why do you always pick on my baloney? Baloney, that's it, Jamie." She bought Angel in Bologna, Italy. The paper said so. Look up Bologna. Both ran back to the files and pulled out a file folder, fat with papers and documents. It was labeled Bologna, Italy. So think this author has been writing this whole time, and Jamie's his phrase that he always says is "oh, baloney," and it comes down to Bologna, Italy. I think that's pretty ironic. They knew even before opening it, it was the right one. I knew too. They had found the file that held the secret. Claudia was no longer in a hurry. She sauntered over to the table, carefully laid down the file, smoothed her skirt under her, and sat in a chair. Jamie was jumping up and down. "Hurry up, Claude, the hour's almost over." Claudia was not to be hurried. She carefully opened the folder, almost afraid of what she would find. The evidence was sealed between 2 sheets of glass. The evidence was a very special, very old piece of paper. On one side was written a poem, a sonnet. Since it was written in Italian, neither Claudia nor Jamie could read it, but they could see that the handwriting was angular and beautiful, in itself almost a work of art. And there was a signature, Michelangelo. The other side of the paper needed no translation. For there, in the midst of the sketches of hands and torsos, was a sketch of someone they knew, Angel. There were the first lines of a thought that was to become a museum mystery 470 years later. There, on that piece of old paper, was the idea, just as it had come from Michelangelo's head to his hand, and he had jotted it down. Claudia looked at the sketch until its image became blurred. She was crying. At first, she said nothing. She simply sat on the chair with tears slowly streaming down her face, hugging the glass frame and shaking her head back and forth. When at last she found her voice, it was a hushed voice, the voice she used for church. Just think, Jamie Michelangelo himself touched this over 400 years ago. Jamie was looking through the rest of the folder. The glass, he said. I'll bet he didn't touch the glass. Are his fingerprints on it? He didn't wait for an answer before asking something else. What do you suppose the rest of these papers are? They are my research on Angel, I answered as I emerged from the hiding place in the closet. He did it in Rome, you know. I just file it under B for Bologna to make it hard. Both children looked up at me startled, just as they had lost all their feelings of urgency. They had also lost all thoughts of me. Finding a secret can make everything else unimportant, you know. Claudia said nothing. And nothing. And nothing. She continued clutching the drawing to her chest and rocking it back and forth. She appeared to be in a trance. Jamie and I stared at her until she felt our eyes focused on her like 4 laser beams. She looked up at us and then smiled. Michelangelo did sculpture the statue, didn't he, Miss Frankenweiler? Of course. I've known for a long time that he did, ever since I got that sketch. How did you get that sketch? Jamie asked. I got it after the war. Which war? Jamie interrupted. World War II. Which war do you think I meant? The American Revolution? Are you that old? Jamie asked. I'm not even going to answer that. Claudia said, Hush, Jamie, let her tell us. But she couldn't hush either. She rushed in with an explanation. I'll bet you helped some rich Italian nobleman or some descendant of Michelangelo's to escape, and he gave you the sketch out of his undying gratitude. That's one explanation, but not the correct one. There was a rich Italian nobleman involved. That part is right. Did he sell it to you? Jamie asked. Claudia rushed in again with another explanation. He had this beautiful daughter, and she needed this operation very badly, and you? Jamie interrupted. Hush, Claudia. Then he asked me, why did he give it to you? Because he was a very, very bad poker player, and I am a very good one. You won it at cards? I could see admiration grow in Jamie's eyes. Yes, I did. Did you cheat? He asked. Jamie, when the stakes are high, I never cheat. I consider myself too important to do that. Jamie asked, how come you don't sell the sketch? You could get quite a boodle for it, being that it matches up with the statue and all. I need having the secret more than I need having the money, I told him. I knew that Claudia understood. Jamie looked puzzled. Thank you for sharing your secret with us, Claudia whispered. How do you know that we'll keep your secret? Jamie asked. Now, a boy who cheats at cards should be able to answer that. Jamie's face broke into a huge grin. Bribery, he exclaimed. You're going to bribe us. Hallelujah. Tell me, I'm ready. What's the deal? I laughed. The deal is, you give me the details of your running away, and I'll give you the sketch. Jamie gasped. That doesn't sound like bribery. That doesn't even sound like you, Miss Frankenweiler. You're smarter than that. How do you know that I won't slip about your secret, as I did about the museum? That boy really amused me. You're right, Jamie. I am smarter than that. I've got a method to keep you slip-proof about the sketch. What's that? I'm not going to give you the sketch outright. I'm going to leave it to you in my will. You won't tell my secret because if you do, I'll write you out of my will. You would lose all that money. You said that the sketch was worth quite a boodle, so you're going to have to be very good about keeping this secret. Claudia will keep quiet for a different reason. Her reason happens to be the same as mine. Which is what? Jamie asked. Simply because it is a secret. It will enable her to return to Greenwich different. So in case you don't know, a will is something that people write. So when they pass away, everyone will know who is getting what. So she is telling them that she's going to leave them the sketch in her will. So whenever she does pass away and they're reading her will and who goes to who, they know that Jamie and Claudia will get the sketch. We're at the top of page 150. Claudia looked at Jamie and nodded. Something I had just made sense. I continued. Returning with a secret is what she really wants. Angel had a secret, and that made her exciting, important. Claudia doesn't want adventure. She likes baths and feeling comfortable too much for that kind of thing. Secrets are the kind of adventure she needs. Secrets are safe, and they do much to make you different. On the inside, where it counts. I won't actually be getting a secret from you. I'll be getting details. I'm a collector of all kinds of things besides art, I said, pointing to my files. If all those files are secrets, and if secrets make you different on the inside, then your insides, Miss Frankenweiler, must be the most mixed up, the most different insides I've ever seen, or any doctor has seen either. I grinned. There's a lifetime of secrets in those files, but there's also just a lot of newspaper clippings. Junk. It's a hodgepodge, like my art collection. Now you'll tell me all about your running away, and I'll add that to my files. Whereas Jamie's excitement bubbled out of him in grins and spurts of jittering around the room, Claudia's excitement flowed, not bubbled. I could see that she was a little surprised. She had known that Angel would have the answer, but she had expected it to be a loud bang, not a quiet soaking in. Of course, secrets make a difference. That was why planning the runaway had been such fun. It was a secret, and hiding them in the museum had been a secret. But they weren't permanent. They had to come to an end. Angel wouldn't. She could carry the secret of Angel inside her for 20 years, just as I had. Now she wouldn't have to be a heroine when she returned home, except to herself. And now she knew something about secrets that she hadn't known before. I could tell that she felt happy. Happiness is excitement that has found a settling down place, but there is always a little corner that keeps flapping around. Claudia could have kept her doubts to herself, but she was an honest child, an honorable child. Miss Frankenweiler, she said, swallowing hard, I really love this sketch. I really do. I love it. Just love, love, love it. But don't you think you ought to give it to the museum? They're just dying to find out whether the statue is real or not. Nonsense. What a conscience you suddenly have. I want to give it to you in exchange. If you and Jamie want to give it to the museum after you inherit it, then you give it to the museum. I won't let the museum people near here. If I could keep them out of Connecticut altogether, I would. I don't want them to have it while I'm alive. Claudia wiped her forehead with the sleeve of her sweater and asked, Why not? I've thought about that for a long time, and I've decided why not. What they'll do is start investigating the authenticity of the sketch. They'll call in the authorities from all over the world. They'll analyze the ink and the paper. They'll research all of its illustrated notes and compare. In short, they'll make a science out of it. Some will say yes, some will say no. Scholars will debate about it. They'll poll all the authorities, and probably the majority will agree that the note and the statue are really the work of Michelangelo. At least that's what they should conclude. But some stubborn ones won't agree, and thereafter the statue and the sketch will appear in books with a big question mark. The experts don't believe in coincidence as much as I do, and I don't want them to throw doubt on something that I've felt always, and actually known for about 20 years. Claudia's eyes widened. But Miss Frankenweiler, is there a slightest doubt that either the statue or the sketch is a forgery? Don't you want to know? Don't you want the last bit of doubt cleared up? No, I answered abruptly. Why not? Because I'm 82 years old, that's why. There, now Jamie, you see, I slipped too. Now I've told you how old I am. Jamie looked at his sister and asked, What's that got to do with anything, Claude? Claudia shrugged. I'll tell you what it's got to do with it, I said. I'm satisfied with my own research on the subject. I'm not in the mood to learn anything new. Claudia said, But Miss Frankenweiler, you should want us to learn one new thing every day. But Miss Frankenweiler, you should want to learn one new thing every day. We did, even at the museum. No, I answered, I don't agree with that. I think you should learn, of course, and some days you must learn a great deal. But you should always have days when you allow what is already in you to swell up inside of you until it touches everything. And you can feel it inside of you. If you never take time to let that happen, then you just accumulate facts and they begin to rattle around inside of you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on to part 2. So pause, hold your spot, and go to part 2 video.